Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Loudguns, and today we're going to be continuing with our tour of IAE, looking at everything that's available on the show floor at New Babbage. And today's a bit of a double header with Crusader Industries and Tumbril land systems both on display in the same hall. So before we get into it, just a quick note to say that if you're a new player considering getting into Star Citizen, there's currently a free fly which is running for the duration of the event and on into December. So don't hesitate, just create yourself an account, download the game and test all these ships out for free, because everything you see on the show floor is rentable for 0 credits. Just when you create your account, make sure that you use somebody's referral code. If you're looking for one, I've put a bunch of them in the video description down below from people in our community. That will get you some extra starting cash should you choose to buy the game, and it'll also get you and the person who refer you a free little Argo MPUV. So we just try to get as many people one of those as we can. Also a big thank you to Does It, who is continuing to be the cameraman for today. Unfortunately my PC's struggling to run the expo, but some RAM is on the way, but for the time being Does It and some of the other guys are helping me out by getting the footage. So it does help to have some friends in the world of Star Citizen, so if you're looking for some, feel free to come and join us on Discord. The link's just down in the video description as well, so come say hi. So as we come into the main hall today, we've got the Crusader Hercules Starlifters. There's a series of all 3 of them. We've got the C2 over on the right in white, the M2 military variant is on the left, and at the back of the hall we've got the A2, the heavy bomber. If you're keen to try out trade, I can definitely recommend you taking out the C2 Hercules. That's currently the ship in the game which has the highest SCU count with 696. So if you want to try your hand at moving some bulk commodities, then give that one a go. Just, make sure you've got enough money to actually fill it up. Alternatively, the Hercules are very good at lifting ground vehicles as well, so that's part of the reason that they've been displayed alongside Tumbril, who are the makers of things like these, the Nova tanks. So you can fit 2 of these into one C2 or M2. So if you've got a group of friends, then I'd highly recommend you grab sort of a tank each, and maybe grab some Hercules to actually move them from point A to point B, and then go and relive some of the old tank battle games that I enjoyed in my youth. Also, I just wanted to say as well, I mildly kicked myself for not mentioning it on Anvil Day when we had the Anvil Carrack on display. But just bear in mind you can go inside all of the ships which are on display on the show floor. So ships like the A2 and indeed any of the Hercules, make sure you go and see the insides of them even if you're not going to take them out, because it gives you a real sense of the scale of Star Citizen. And seeing the level of fidelity which has been put into particularly some of these bigger ships' interiors is for me one of those real wow moments for Star Citizen. I came back to playing Star Citizen, I pledged quite a while back in 2014, but due to various other games getting in the way, I didn't actually get around to really playing day to day until this time last year. And it was walking around some of the bigger ships that really, particularly after coming directly from Elite Dangerous, that was sort of the jaw drop moment where I was like, wow, this is a game I can see myself sinking some real hours into, even if we've got some sort of ongoing development bugs, etc, etc. In the second hall, we've got some more of Crusader's ships. So we've got the Mercury Starrunner in the middle, and we've got the new Aries Starfighter series, the 2 variants of that to either side of it. The Starfighters are basically size 7 guns with a ship loosely built around them, so they're meant to be taking on ships much bigger than themselves, although as long as you can hit them, ships smaller or the same size as them don't fare too well either. If you're only going to have the time to take one of these out, I'd probably say take out the Aries Ion. It seems to be in a bit of a better place at the moment with its size 7 energy weapon, so this is the laser cannon sniper, whereas the Inferno has a custom size 7 Gatling gun. There are a bit of a few issues with the spread on that gun, so trying to actually hit things from any distance is a bit tricky. That said, one of the best suggestions I read today from the guys in Discord was that we play Inferno Bulldog out on the lakes of Microtech with an Inferno strafing while everybody tries to run for cover in whatever land vehicle they choose. Also, with all the hype focused around the new ships, don't overlook some of the old stalwarts, so the Mercury Starrunner really is something to see if you haven't seen one before. Particularly, take a look around the inside of it, because this is probably one of the most thoughtfully designed interiors I think that CIG have put together. Downstairs from the main hall we have Tumbril's selection of Cyclones. So these are all the little buggies, and to be honest, there's not that much actual use for ground vehicles in Star Citizen at the moment. The problem that we have is that there's not the levels of restriction on places that you can fly a ship that would then require you to use a ground vehicle. However, judging from the information which came out with the Spartan, it looks like CIG are working on that. And with missile turrets, I think there are going to be sort of no-fly areas coming into the game. But that said, sometimes for now, Star Citizen is as much fun as you can make it for yourself. And I have certainly had a lot of fun racing Cyclones across the various moons. So if you followed my advice and took those Noxes out yesterday, grab yourself a couple of Cyclone RCs today. Onto the Holoviewer rooms, and we've got a couple of Tumbril's Ranger bikes, which are currently in concept, so these holodecks always just show off the concept ships. And I'm sure that these are going to be an awful lot of fun when they come out, although I think I'll probably blow a lot of them up. I generally steer clear of advising people on how to spend their money in Star Citizen. It's your money, spend it how you like it. But one thing that I will say is that ground vehicles generally offer a very poor conversion from dollars to UEC, so ground vehicles for me are all buy in game. And the final concept from the Holo room is the ship that I'm going to dive in on a little bit today, because again I think it gets overlooked, and also it does something completely different, or at least will do something completely different when it's released, and I believe that variety is the spice of life. So we've got the Genesis Starliner from Crusader Industries, and this is fairly unique in that it's meant to be a sort of bulk passenger transport. While we have a number of ships in game which offer a passenger type gameplay, the majority of them are in the touring and luxury end of the market. So things like the 890 Jump, 600i Touring Edition, and the Connie Phoenix. It's all about taking a small number of passengers and showing them the sights and sort of having that luxury vacation cruise ship type feel to them. Whereas to me, the Genesis Starliner is much more the Boeing 747 of the Star Citizen universe, transporting larger amounts of people in a much more practical fashion. So obviously this is a concept ship, so everything that I say should be taken with a healthy pinch of speculation salt. But I dug into the Q&A from when this ship was originally announced back in 2015, and the guidance there was that it would carry about 40 passengers. I think given CIG's tendencies, shall we say, that is likely to increase because the size of the ship is likely to increase. Particularly with the older concepts that have been brought up to date, and as they've entered actual modelling phases, they've tended to grow in order to accommodate all the various parts that they need to. And if this ship were to grow in size, then I would expect it to grow in headcount in terms of the amount of passengers that it can take. It really interests me, particularly after the changes that we've seen in 3.15. So now that our inventories and our ships, etc. are more tied to a certain location, you do sort of sometimes find yourself coming across problems of, well, I've moved one ship from point A to point B, but now I need to go back. How do I go back? I probably need to get somebody to give me a ride. And one of the guys in our org's trade division, Rolanders, he really summed it up for me when he explained that he basically really likes passenger gameplay because it's cargo that loads itself. So we're just thinking that probably the Genesis Starliner is going to be one of those ships that from the very beginning, as soon as you get your hands on this ship in the verse, you can start making money with it. So whereas the likes of a mining ship, so something like the Orion for instance, it might have a huge potential to make money, but if you need to think about maybe kitting it out with newer parts versus its stock equipment in order to really get it rolling, then that could be quite an expensive sort of fit out that you need to do before you really make it optimal. Whereas, you know, the Starliner's job is basically it's inherent in its design, so you're going to be able to just start rolling out and giving people rides from point A to point B in this ship with all of its base components. It'll also probably be a ship which is run a lot by NPCs in the verse, so one of the things I would particularly like to see, just for a convenience of gameplay, is I would like to see sort of NPCs running shuttlecraft and running these sort of Starliner flights from various locations. We've already got it if you look in sort of all the major landing zones, spaceports. There's usually the departures where you go through, you can go to the hangar to go and get your own ship, but there's usually also sort of a scheduled flights list. So I think that's already in the game in terms of the area we would go to use it. But I for one would definitely like to, you know, when it comes to, if I'm stuck on Lorville and I need to go over to New Babbage to go and see the expo, I'd quite like to be able to just book myself a seat on an NPC run Starliner. You know, I don't want to particularly see things like fast travel enter the game, because I think the distances in Star Citizen are what really give you that sense of scale. You know, you have to appreciate just the sheer size of universe that they've created, and we're only in one system of it. And you know, the ultimate sort of goal is to have many systems which you might be able to travel across. But at the same time, I'd like to be able to set my character travelling off on its own, without me having to necessarily sit at the controls of my own spaceship every time I want to move from point A to point B. So I hope that was useful for you if you didn't manage to make it to today's expo. And let me know in the comments if there are any ships that you're particularly looking forward to from Crusader, or vehicles from Tumbril for that matter, and if you're enjoying taking anything in particular out. If you are enjoying the series, then consider dropping a like and clicking a subscribe button if you want to keep up with the rest of the week. We're going to be continuing to go back to Microtech every day until Saturday with Misc Day. I think we'll give ourselves a day off for the Best in Show. I'd also like to say a big thank you to everybody who's backed me on Patreon. It's thanks to you guys that RAM is winging its way to me as we speak, and my computer should be able to handle events such as the expo going forward, sort of at least until I can get my hands on a new rig sometime next year. If you would like to help support the channel, then there is a link in the video description down below to the Patreon. But honestly, watching, liking, sharing videos with your grandma is more than enough, so don't feel any pressure to contribute in that way. And with all that said, thank you very much to everyone for watching all the way to the end, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.